Hey Lisa, this is Sam King. How you doing? So I'm looking at your email here, of your questions, and I did go to Neurosoma website, and there were only 3 therapists in Southern California. When I spoke to Tom, his rodents, and I keep in contact. To get support from my friend whom he had treated. Tom didn't really explain why this would be important, only that it was. I should have asked. You're right. As far as this goes, I couldn't really tell you why he told you that, obviously, but also you have to remember when you're dealing with Tom, he is I think he's probably 80 by now, 80 years old. He may be a little bit older, in his early 80s. So, and you also have to remember he's been doing this since the early 60s. So, and and you also have to remember that the medical establishment, they dismiss anyone like Tom who questions what they believe about things, which is generally in cases like yours and mine and a slew of other people's, that surgery is the answer to almost everything. That's why I'm sure you've heard the in the last 20 years or so, definitely in the last 10 years, as people get older, they complain about hip problems, and the surgeons, they just recommend hip replacement surgery because it's a big payday for them. And the pain goes away, the pain goes away for their clients. And the pain goes away is because they're putting in a ball and socket that's stainless steel or titanium or something, and they cut all sorts of nerves out. And I'm sure they're cutting through some muscle tissue and stuff. So anyway, you have to keep all that in mind, is that Tom's been at this a long time, and he's sick of hearing anybody question the information that he has researched and that he knows. And if you haven't read this book, it's called What's Really Wrong with You? A Revolutionary Look at How Muscles Affect You. Maxine Nunez, she was one of his patients, and when she got better, because she went to Tom, and he worked on her for whatever her problems were. I guess she had back problems. But when she realized that Tom knew what he was doing, she asked him, well, have you published any of your papers or findings about spindle fibers and lactic acid? And he said, no, I've just submitted them to medical journals and stuff, but he'd never published a book for the general public. So that's how this book got created and published. She basically interviewed him and put in layman's terms what he had discovered through his research. So, and it explains his history. So you probably want to read that book to understand where Tom is coming from. So just to get to your questions here, let me see how much time I have on my recorder. Okay, again, I'll have to probably cut this into 2 or 3 video responses. But also, the reason I mentioned this book is because if you read this book, it answers what you can expect here. And if you had a friend who was treated by Tom, he or she, they could give you their experience too. So have you asked your friends, how they felt after their first initial treatments? Because you said right here, you keep it. Tom suggested that you keep it to get contact and get support from your friend who had been treated by him. So you obviously have some experience with someone else who was treated by Tom, so they could answer a lot of your questions too. Okay, let me stop this video and I'll get to the next part.